I recently decided I want to switch up my computer case, and I can't really get anything on Amazon right now because of, things in the world. So I looked at my local Fry's, and to my surprise, they were still open, and they had a few cases available. So after debating on which one to get, I went with the middlest priced of what they had. This is the Zalman Z7 Neo, and from what I could find, there's not a lot of information about this case, and the only video reviews I could find were not in English, so let's find out if it's any good. I paid $89.99 for this case, and it'll pretty much fit any components you have, considering it's a mid-tower case. It's not very compact, it's not very slim, so if you got it, it'll probably fit. Taking a look around the outside, you'll see we have a tempered glass side panel as well as a tempered glass front panel. Can't wait to get smudges on it from just looking at it wrong or find little handprints from my son. I was disappointed they didn't include a bottle of Windex to go along with this to help keep it clean. Like many cases today, this features a glass front panel that happens to be only a couple millimeters away from the fans, so despite the fact that it has 3 fans stacked there, it only has this little vent on the side to pull in any air, so we'll see if that has any effect on the cooling later. And speaking of fans, there are 4 RGB ones included with this case. The top panel has your standard array of inputs, including one USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, a headphone and mic jack, LEDs, a fan color change button, reset switch, and power switch. A magnetic dust filter is included for the top. And on the bottom, there is a clip-in one for the power supply. In terms of accessories included, it's pretty slim. You just get the 2 drive cages, a bag of screws, some drive bay covers, a couple of zip ties, and a manual that I definitely read front to back. The motherboard tray is white, so make sure that fits in with the theme of your build, and definitely make sure not to build this case after Labor Day. This case features a basement for the power supply, perfect for hiding away that cheap PSU you're ashamed of and you don't want anyone to see. The drive bays are mounted next to the power supply as well, and you must be accessed from the rear panel. On the back, there's also 2 2.5-inch SSD mounts, which gives us a total of 4, but we all know you can just mount SSDs anywhere with tape or something. The case comes with a pre-wired RGB controller with the 4 fans hooked up to it, and it has 4 more slots for more fans if you really want to get crazy. Like I mentioned before, this has a button on the top panel to control the RGB lights, but it also comes with a header for your motherboard should it have that available. The fans included are Zalman branded and specifically state on them that they are quiet fans, so we'll be sure to check that out later once we have it all hooked up. I'm just going to be transferring over the components from my previous case, so that includes a GTX 1080, a 650 watt EVGA power supply, a Ryzen 5 1600X, an ASRock B350 Pro motherboard, 16 gigs of DDR4 memory, and various SSDs and hard drives. So the first step in putting this case together, I put the I/O shield in, and that kind of gave me the first indication of the quality of this case. As you can see here, once I push it in, it has quite a bit of flex on the back panel, so that's indicative of the quality of steel being used here. Next, I had to add and move around a couple of the motherboard standoff screws. These were actually really hard to get screwed in and to remove. I had to get some extra leverage with my tool here, but once they were installed, it was all fine. They did thread in okay, and I didn't have any issues with stripping them out. After that, the motherboard fit in just fine. For installing the power supply, I had to be mindful of the clearance with the cables, so I had to install the plugs in before I mounted it to the case itself. Instead of having individual holes with grommets in it, it just has this panel that all the cables kind of slip from behind. We'll see what this looks like once it's all done, but this is definitely a cost-saving measure, it seems. There's not a lot of places on the back here for cables management, so I just had to do my best to keep it tidy. And here's the after. It didn't come out too bad. Everything is tucked out of the way and the back cover can close on this without any interference. And here's the side you'll actually see. It didn't come out too bad. It looks pretty clean. I should probably move that graphics card cable though, but other than that, it looks good. Taking a look at what we all came here to see, here's the RGB lights cycling through the colors using the button on top. Can't forget to do the last and most important part of this build. And now that it's all together, let's check some temperatures and see if those fans are being impeded by the glass panel in front at all. I ran TimeSpy a couple times and I had no issues at all with temperatures. My graphics card never got above 70 and my CPU never got above 67. And this is using stock fan curves and everything. I was definitely curious how loud those fans would be, and they do seem to live up to that quiet fan label they have on them. You can see here at idle we're only getting like 32 or 33 decibels, and it's just a gentle hum that you don't really notice while sitting at the desk. I noticed on the side panel here it definitely has kind of a hollow feel or like a cheap sound if you tap on it, so that's kind of indicative of this whole case, just the like cheaper steel being used. So that's going to do it for the Zalman Z7 Neo. It's not a bad case for the price, but the materials kind of make it feel more like a $40 case that has some nicer features tacked onto it. The steel itself is pretty thin and it's definitely right up there with some of the cheaper cases I've used. The glass front and side panels are nice and they're very clear and they give a good window into it. And I know there's better cases in that $100 price range, but I was looking for something to get then and there, and this is one of the best options I had from my local store, so it's what I took home. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.